Okay guys, so they've moved the entrance to the speedboat ramps over to the other side of the stelling. That is the area away from the collapsed market, the Stabroek Market. So this is where you'd have to pick up the speedboats from today because of the collapse. So the collapse occurred on the other end, that is over to the north side, right? The north side of the market, and the back, that is the river end, the end of the market that backs up with the river. And because of the damage that was done over there, they've moved the speedboat entrance, that is the place to join these speedboats, over here. And that allows the boat to operate away from the damaged area. We'll see if we can get closer to it, closer to the damaged area by walking around the market. So for those of you who are unaware of what happened, sometime earlier this week, the market building, a dilapidated section of the market that backs onto the Demerara River, collapsed, trapping about 5 people who got injured, and putting an end to causing them to close the speedboat ramps. So they closed the ramps that operated close to that section of the market that collapsed. They moved it over to the other end of the stelling, the old stelling. But if you recall, in that last video, I showed you how dilapidated and deteriorated the Stabroek Market had become, and how in fact the section that was about to collapse, in fact, had been partially collapsed. We're walking through the Stabroek Market now to get to the other side. And so what happened is that is what collapsed. The section that we were talking about in the last video is the section that collapsed earlier this week. I'll see if you can get a better view of it from this point in the market. So this is the back of the market where you normally find vegetables and fish and so on. So what happened is that this part of the market in fact had been closed, right? This part of the building had been closed, so it was not occupied. It should not have been occupied at the time when it collapsed, but there had been a few people, homeless people, living in that section of the building, the dilapidated, deteriorated structure at the time. And those are the people who got injured during the collapse. Since then, they have been cleaning up, that is, removing the debris and rescuing the people who were trapped. But what we talked about in that video is how this is prime real estate because it is riverfront property and should in fact be developed. In fact, the previous coalition government had plans. They had made elaborate plans to turn the riverside into a boardwalk community. So during the period from 2015 to 2020, the coalition government had plans to turn a section of the riverfront into a boardwalk community. They plan to build high-rise condominiums, high-rise apartment buildings, restaurants, and shopping malls and food courts and a boardwalk. And when the government changed, when the PPP took over, they cancelled those plans and built the promenade at Kingston Seawall. So the Kingston Seawall promenade was actually meant to replace a boardwalk community here at Stabroek Market. That is, the plan was to turn the entire riverfront into a boardwalk community, and the Stabroek Market would have been turned into a mall, a shopping mall. And those plans were cancelled to build the esplanade at Kingston Seawall Esplanade. So that's the story behind the riverfront development. It's a very political decision. In other words, the decision to cancel the development of this riverfront section of Georgetown into a boardwalk community was made by the politicians, and the politicians also made the decision. This is Water Street. We're now on Water Street, walking north on Water Street. So these same politicians made the decision to move that development to the Kingston Seawall to beautify the area around the Pegasus Hotel. Here on Water Street, somebody is asking what happened on Water Street. Here is Popeyes. So there are a couple of fast food restaurants that moved into this section. Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen here at the corner of Water Street, and the America Street. The market, that is a section of the market that was near to the wharf. How much are the apples?
100 brother, 100. 100 apple, fresh pick.
So, as I said, this is America Street, and a lot of the development that was planned for this section of the city, that is the boardwalk community that was planned for Water Street from the wharf to the river, from the Water Street to the wharf to the river, that was cancelled to build the promenade or the esplanade at Kingston Seawall. And so this is what Water Street looks like 5 years after those plans were made, or 4 years after those plans were cancelled. It is still a shopping center, but it's not focused, it's unfocused. It is unorganized, but it is in fact one of the busiest sections of Georgetown for business. So this is what it looks like, just to give it an idea of what was planned for this section of the city. In other words, this was supposed to be a boardwalk community, and it has remained unrenovated, with a market that continues to grow and expand. On this side, for example, that's a market behind all of those stalls. There's a market that extends all the way to what is that street? Before Republic Avenue. And there's a market on this side that extends all the way to John Fernand's Wharf. Let me see if I can give you a brief walk through this section of the market. So there is a part of this market that runs all the way between Water Street and John Fernand's Wharf. Right, so the idea is to give you a feel for what was planned. The plan was to make all of this area a boardwalk community for development of the city. Right, so there's even a food court in this section of the market. So the plan was to build a boardwalk community that turned all of this shopping area that extends on Water Street from about Church Street to Brick Dam. All of that is the plan, was to turn all of that into a boardwalk community with high-rise apartment buildings and with shopping malls, with food courts, and with restaurants. As we come out here onto, what is this, Robb Street, right? This is the extension of Robb Street, looking east and then looking west towards the river. This is John Fernand's, right? The John Fernand's Wharf. And all along this section of the riverfront was supposed to become this boardwalk community. They might have had to move all of these ports, wharfs, to another section of the river, but the plan was to turn this section of Georgetown from an industrial zone into a residential zone, so that when you enter Port Georgetown, when you enter the river, right, let's say you're coming in off the Atlantic Ocean on a cruise ship, what you would see is not dilapidated structures backed onto river, not what is currently there now, piers and wharfs and shipping containers, but you would actually see high-rise buildings. You know, you would see people walking on the boardwalk, people sitting at outdoor restaurants, and people enjoying the river view. And that is what we gave up, right? That is what was given up to build the Esplanade at Kingston Seawall Esplanade. So that's it, guys. That's the Stabroek Market in the distance. And this is what has happened here on Water Street. If you want to see more content like this, click like and subscribe. In the comments below, share your thoughts, your comments, your views on the development of this boardwalk community and the collapse of the the collapse of the Stabroek Market structure that backs onto the river, and share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know what's happening here in Georgetown, Guyana. Later!